Police in Egg Harbor Township are investigating a shooting at a nursing home and a rehab facility that left one person dead and another in critical condition. It happened at Excel Care on Delilah Road. The Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office says this appears to be an isolated incident between people who knew each other, and names are being withheld pending next of kin. They say there is no threat to the public.
The morning began like countless others. Inside the rehabilitation facility, the day was just starting to take shape. Staff arrived in steady rhythm, stepping into another shift built on routine, responsibility, and care. The atmosphere reflected what people expect from places like this: calm, structured, familiar. Patients rested in rooms where healing was part of the daily process. Conversations were quiet. Movements were ordinary. Nothing suggested the day would become anything other than what it was supposed to be. Outside, the parking lot slowly filled as the morning progressed. Vehicles pulled in one after another. People gathered their belongings, preparing mentally for the hours ahead. Another workday, another shift, another ordinary beginning. But one vehicle was already there. Someone had arrived early. Not by coincidence, not by chance. Waiting. Positioned before the day fully began. The kind of waiting that carries intention behind it. This was not a random encounter between strangers. The connection between them stretched back years, a shared history built over time, shaped by experiences, responsibilities, and family. The kind of history that does not disappear overnight, even when circumstances change. When she arrived, the routine of the morning quietly shifted. A confrontation began in the parking area before the building had fully come to life. Her husband appeared carrying something that made his intentions unmistakably clear. 2 suicide notes already written. The presence of those notes suggested that this encounter was not meant to end with conversation. It signaled a moment already shaped by final decisions, a situation where the outcome had been determined long before she arrived. He will bring out a gun and forcefully enter her car, signaling with all intent and purpose that will be their final ride on Earth. In that instant, the ordinary routine of the morning no longer existed. She was now in the car with someone she had shared more than 2 decades of life with, the father of her children. But the man in front of her was no longer there for reconciliation. The notes made that clear. At some point while inside, another driver outside caused a distraction. She finally saw an opportunity, a small window to create distance. She ran toward the entrance of the facility, attempting to reach the safety of a building filled with people, structure, and the normal rhythm of a workday already in progress. It was a decision made in seconds, the kind of decision shaped by instinct and urgency rather than certainty. But he followed. The distance between the parking lot and the entrance was short, but the moment carried the weight of something irreversible. Inside a place meant for recovery and care, the sound of gunfire broke through the normal rhythm of the day. Staff and patients found themselves inside a moment no one expected when the morning began. Emergency services were called. Law enforcement responded. A workplace became part of an active investigation within minutes. What happened inside that building did not begin there. The path to that morning had been forming long before April 13. Welcome to Intimate Crime Stories. Every day, I bring you gripping true crime stories, disturbing case breakdowns, and the details behind the crimes that stay with you long after the video ends. If you're drawn to real cases, dark mysteries, and the psychology behind criminal acts, subscribe now and like this video as you step deeper into the story with me. Victoria Alexander's life reflected a balance between responsibility and ordinary moments that often go unseen by people outside of one's immediate circle. She attended Millville Senior High School, where part of her early foundation began to take shape. Like many others moving through those years, her life gradually progressed from school into adulthood, where responsibilities began to form direction. Over time, that direction led her into the healthcare field, where she became a nurse. Her work placed her in an environment centered on caring for others, helping people through periods of vulnerability, recovery, and adjustment. Nursing requires patience, consistency, and the ability to remain present for individuals navigating difficult moments in their lives. That role became part of her daily rhythm. Outside of work, Victoria's life also centered on family. She was a mother of 2 sons, a responsibility that shaped many of her decisions and routines. Parenthood often creates structure within everyday life, requiring constant attention, planning, and presence. The balance between work and family responsibilities formed the foundation of her day-to-day routine. The demands of caring for others professionally, while also maintaining the responsibilities connected to raising children, created a life that required steady commitment. Beyond those responsibilities, there were also lighter aspects of her personality that appeared through everyday activities. Victoria enjoyed making TikTok dance videos, participating in trends that allowed her to express moments of creativity and energy. The videos she created showed a side of her that existed beyond structured responsibilities. Moments of music, rhythm, and movement shared casually online. These clips reflected a familiarity with everyday trends, showing how she engaged with things that many people use as a way to relax or connect with others digitally. Some of those moments also included Brandon Alexander. Victoria and Brandon had been together for approximately 21 years. Their relationship extended across a significant portion of their lives, creating a shared history that developed over time. Relationships lasting that long often become intertwined with major life transitions, including building a family and establishing routines that gradually become part of everyday structure. Together, they had 2 sons, further connecting their lives through shared responsibility and long-term involvement with one another. During periods when their relationship functioned differently than it would later, the 2 sometimes appeared together in TikTok videos. Brandon occasionally participated in dance challenges Victoria created, joining her in recording short clips that reflected everyday interaction between them. They even maintained a separate TikTok page as a couple, using the platform to post videos showing moments of cooperation and shared participation. The content reflected small segments of time, brief recordings that captured ordinary interactions without suggesting the deeper direction the relationship would eventually take. Over time, however, the relationship reached a point of separation. After more than 2 decades together, their lives began moving in different directions. When 2 people share that length of history, the change does not exist only in the present moment. It reflects an adjustment that affects routine, family structure, and familiarity built over many years. Victoria continued maintaining her routine. Her responsibilities as a nurse remained part of her daily life. Her role as a mother continued shaping how she moved through each day. Life continued forward, structured around the obligations and priorities already in place. The separation marked a transition, but daily responsibilities still required attention. The rhythm of work and family life continued, even as circumstances surrounding the relationship changed. Brandon, on the other hand, was a different story. People close to him said he wasn't taking the separation very well and was seriously against it. On the night of April 12th, leading up to April 13th, activity appeared online that would later draw attention. Brandon posted a series of TikTok videos, 8 in total, each accompanied by captions that reflected personal distress. At the time the videos were shared, those who came across them may not have immediately understood the seriousness behind the words. Online posts can sometimes appear as expressions tied to a difficult moment, something people interpret as temporary emotion rather than something deeper. The relationship between Victoria and Brandon had spanned more than 2 decades, creating a connection shaped over many years. A separation after that length of time represents a significant life change, one that alters routines that had existed for a long period. No one will ever fully know how deeply that shift affected him internally. What appeared publicly were short captions, brief statements attached to videos that did not immediately reveal the weight they may have carried. The captions appeared one after another. The first one, "I'm at war with my soul and conscience." The second one, "Broken beyond repair." Then "It's over." Followed by "I can't no more." Then "I did all I could." Next was "I tried my hardest, remember that," followed by "I'm okay with not being here anymore." The final one was "My last ride." Seen individually, each message reflected distress. Viewed together, the tone suggested someone experiencing an internal struggle that may not have been fully visible to others at the time. It is not uncommon for people to interpret serious messages as emotional reactions connected to a moment rather than indicators of something more final. Only later would those words be viewed differently as silent resolve. Hours after those videos were posted, events would move beyond online expression into real-world action. The morning of April 13th, 2026 began in a way that did not immediately appear different from any other workday. Early hours often move quietly, especially in environments centered around care and recovery. At the Excel Care Rehabilitation Facility, the structure of the day typically followed a familiar rhythm. Staff members arrived, prepared to carry out responsibilities connected to patients who depended on consistency, patience, and attention. Victoria arrived at the facility as part of that normal flow of the morning. Nothing outwardly suggested that this day would separate itself from the countless other mornings that had come before it. The responsibilities waiting inside remained the same as always. Patients requiring care, schedules to follow, tasks that demanded focus and professionalism. Her role as a nurse meant entering an environment where others depended on her presence. But Brandon was already there. He had arrived 2 hours ahead of her and was waiting in the parking area before she pulled in. His presence was intentional, positioned before her arrival rather than by coincidence. As she arrived and parked, Brandon approached her vehicle. He forced his way into her car while armed with a firearm, immediately changing what had begun as a normal morning into a situation she could not easily leave. Inside the vehicle, he made his intentions clear. He placed 2 suicide notes on the dashboard, positioned where they could not be ignored. The presence of the firearm and the written notes showed that this encounter was not simply about conversation. The situation had already moved beyond that point. Moments later, a food truck driver nearby noticed the vehicle blocking access and approached, asking him to move the car. That brief interruption created a shift in attention, a small but critical opening. Victoria used the moment to escape. She got out of the vehicle and ran toward the entrance of the rehabilitation facility, moving toward a place where other people were present. A workplace filled with staff and structure offered the possibility of distance and safety, but he followed her. Still armed, he pursued her into the building. The distance between the parking lot and the entrance was short, but what followed happened quickly. Inside the facility, he shot her multiple times. Gunfire broke through the normal pace of the morning as staff and residents suddenly found themselves in the middle of an unfolding emergency. Calls to 911 were made as people inside the building realized what was happening. Within minutes, law enforcement and emergency responders arrived at the facility. Victoria was pronounced deceased at the scene. Brandon had also shot himself. He was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound and was transported to Atlanticare Regional Medical Center in critical condition. Officers moved through the facility, securing the building and checking rooms to ensure there were no additional threats to staff or residents. The rehabilitation center, which had begun the morning as a place focused on recovery and care, became an active crime scene as investigators began documenting what had occurred. The immediate aftermath focused on securing the environment and ensuring the safety of everyone inside the building. Law enforcement established control of the scene as investigators began the process of determining the full sequence of events. Staff members, residents, and administrators were left processing the sudden shift from routine to tragedy. In the hours that followed, details began to emerge about the sequence of events that had taken place inside and outside the building. Authorities confirmed that Brandon had forced his way into Victoria's car while armed, placed 2 suicide notes on the dashboard, and followed her into the facility after she attempted to escape. Brandon later died from the injuries he sustained after shooting himself.
We have breaking news on the deadly nursing center shooting in Atlantic County. Action News broke the story 24 hours ago right here. Police now say the suspect, identified as 35-year-old Brandon Alexander, shot and killed his estranged wife at the Excel Care Center facility in Egg Harbor Township. She's been identified as 38-year-old Victoria Alexander, who worked at the facility as a nurse.
Authorities say the gunman blocked the victim in with his car, and when she was able to run inside, he followed her inside, shooting her and then turning the gun on himself. The suspect also reportedly left 2 suicide notes. He died at the hospital this morning. The motive remains under investigation.
The facility later released a statement addressing what had occurred. We are deeply saddened by the heartbreaking death of one of our beloved employees during a domestic confrontation at our facility this morning. This has shaken everyone at Excel Care of Egg Harbor, and we offer our profound condolences to our staff members, family, and friends. This was an isolated incident, and our residents were not endangered. We continue to fully cooperate with the police as they investigate this tragedy. Those who worked alongside Victoria also spoke about the impact she had within the environment where she spent much of her time caring for others. She was described as an excellent nurse, someone who approached her role with kindness and patience. Colleagues remembered her as comforting and attentive, someone who took the time to listen to residents share stories about their lives. Within healthcare settings, these interactions often extend beyond clinical responsibility, reflecting the human connection that develops between caregivers and those they assist. As the investigation continued, authorities confirmed that Brandon had left suicide notes prior to the incident. The existence of those notes indicated that the actions taken that morning were not spontaneous, but had been preceded by preparation. Investigators classified the case as a domestic-related incident. No other victims were physically harmed during the event. The focus gradually shifted from the immediate emergency response to the lasting impact left behind. Victoria was remembered as a nurse whose daily work centered on helping others navigate periods of vulnerability. She was a mother of 2 sons, balancing responsibilities connected to family life with the demands of her profession. She had shared moments of everyday life online, participating in trends that reflected ordinary expressions of personality and creativity. Her life included roles that many people recognize: caregiver, parent, partner, individual, navigating the everyday balance between obligation and personal identity. The relationship that had once connected her and Brandon had spanned more than 2 decades, forming a shared history that could not be reduced to a single moment. But on April 13th, that long history came to an irreversible end, inside a place meant for care and recovery. What remained afterward was the impact of a single morning that changed the course of multiple lives, leaving behind responsibilities that would now be carried forward in a different way than anyone had expected when the day began. Thank you for watching Intimate Crime Stories. If you've been following these gripping true crime stories with me, make sure you subscribe, because I bring you powerful, thought-provoking crime videos every single day. If this case stayed with you, there's more waiting for you here. See you in the next one.